Hey guys, so I'm finishing up my sales wrap up for the flash sale that took place almost 2 months ago. So I apologize, but I had to really think about these last two films because these are the last two that I had, and I just wanted to get these out so that way that I'll be able to move on to other content. Not to say that these movies aren't bad or anything like that. It's just kind of um, kind of less inspired on these two, but it doesn't mean that they're not bad. But I'll start off. So first is Exotica from Atom Egoyan, and I'm sorry I pronounced that name wrong, but this was a movie that I had originally watched on the Criterion Channel back in September, and this is first film from him. I think the other movie that he's most well known for is the Sweet Hereafter, and this movie is great. It's phenomenal. It's a sort of mystery, peeled back the layers of this, and you get a very powerful character study and of trauma on the individual. It's that's like the most general that I can make it. But I think the reason why I like Exotica so much is the performances in this. Bruce Greenwood, Mira Kirshner, and um, he was from Thin Red Line. I'm sorry, I forgot his name here. Um, but he was Casey Jones from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. In the comments, you can help me out there. But he was fantastic as well. And all three of these, the characters you feel for. At the end, there's differing sorts of things interlocking, different sort of rules that are broken. Um, a lot of information here that I can't possibly like delve deep into because it's a very, very complex work of just of just trying to heal at least, and that's what I could take away from Exotica here. And I dare not ruin the movie because I think that that's the power of it, of course. But um, to break it down and such, it's a very simple movie. So I would just recommend just getting this as soon as possible because it's really awesome. The audio commentary between Adam and Michael Dana, it was wonderful. I loved it, and it discussed all the musical compositions and how it came to what inspired that, and of course the director goes into some of the scenes in more detail. Also on this Criterion edition is Calendar as well, so definitely go ahead and check this movie out. It's a really even a great movie, I would say. And so now we go to the big daddy of the collection, Berlin Alexanderplatz from Rainer Werner Fassbinder. Now, a lot of feelings on this. So obviously, you go from Exotica, which is like a very simple movie, to a very, very complex miniseries in Berlin Alexanderplatz, based off of the 1928 modernist novel. Um, and by going into this miniseries, I knew that this was not designed to be a sort of like a movie in any sort of way. This because of course Fassbinder had made TV series in the past. He had made 8 Hours Don't Make a Day, World on a Wire, and I think that was the only two. And this is still considered his magnum opus by a lot of critics. And the more that I think back to it and what I watched, I really liked it a lot. And I'll try to break it down as much as I can. So for Berlin Alexanderplatz, it's this person named Franz Bieberkorb who murdered his wife, and he goes and tries to rehabilitate himself, but all these outside forces tempt him, and eventually it results in his downfall and eventual rebirth. That's as much as I can get from that. So this movie is very not movie. I'm sorry. TV series is very slow plotting. It takes its time. It's very deliberate, and it does. Now I've read like a few modernist novels, not in like of course, I can't really compare it, but I know Great Gatsby was in there, and then also Magic Mountain from Thomas Mann. Very deliberate style, very slow paced, but it sort of unfolds itself. And I felt that now I've never read the book from Berlin Alexanderplatz, but I would have to believe in some way that, well, in a lot of ways that Fassbinder was so true to this book that it requires all of its not 15-hour runtime. And it's it has a lot of stuff in it, and whenever it comes to its themes itself. But it's really a movie of two, well, sorry, TV series. I keep on messing that up. It's a TV series of two halves. One is where you see Franz Corp eventually come in, and do you really sympathize with him because he murdered his wife? Because we still view it on that Tolstoyan level of like, or virtual signaling of, whether this person is good or evil. But that necessarily isn't the case of Berlin Alexanderplatz. Is essentially of this person trying to redeem himself in this face of evil, but eventually evil just overtakes him, really. Or not even evil per se, but like more of like just stalling. I can't come up with the word for it, but it's just like he sort of just like plods along. And spoiler alert, he gets his arm cut off, in the middle of the TV series. And he still has this carefree, demeaning attitude, even giving this beautiful soliloquy at the end, which you kind of, whenever he gets his arm cut off, you kind of feel for Franz in that instance, because that's what his main life philosophy is. But at the same time, this guy murdered his wife, so therefore, like, there's flaws in what he thinks. It's the world that Franz Corp feels like is the problem, when it's really himself. And he doesn't really realize this until the end. And of course, it was beautifully done by Fassbinder. For newer people, well, not newer people, but like for younger viewers, Berlin Alexanderplatz kind of reminds me of the end of Evangelion, the movie that kind of ties up Neon Genesis Evangelion. And it's sort of like it's sort of structured the same way, where this person goes up and then eventually he just has this breakdown. And I will say my favorite parts of this series is the 5th episode and the last and final episode. The 5th episode is where Franz Corp is in this drunken stupor in this bombed out, well, not even bombed out, but in this very bare apartment. And he has these flashbacks. And there's this one scene I'll never forget in that part where this I think it was like a sheep shearer, and it had biblical references to Job, is what I can gain from it. But I haven't really delved a lot into it. There's just a lot in this series. Like, you could literally make an hour about this whole entire miniseries. But there's videos about that out there, to be quite honest. So, you can view that. But as far as like this in particular, this scene, I'll spare the details, but essentially it's like the process of just like, just giving this sheep its end, really. And it was quite harrowing, brutal, but it conveyed like a sense of, I can't really even describe it, but I remember watching it just being astonished that that Fassbinder was able to put that in a TV series. So I don't know what that meant specifically, like for the whole outline of the whole entire series, but that scene was incredible, and only Fassbinder can give us that, really. And so also the second half is really another downfall, but in a sense of trying to have some redemption and love, I guess, in a way. This woman, or this prostitute named Mitza, comes and meets with Franz, and they eventually become, have a love connection there, but eventually it just turns into a situation that Franz can never escape from, and it eventually becomes his death and rebirth. And it also has a great villain, and I forget his name. I apologize, man. I really need to remember names. So, I'm trying to think here. So the villain in this series is has his own sort of shortcomings as well, in terms of like, there may be like a homosexual straight, like he's sort of grappling with that, but in reality he's just like this sort of like, Rheingold is his name. I apologize. Rheingold is the villain of this series. I'm so sorry. Rheingold is essentially is a bad person, a horrible person, a cowardly person, and does everything to Franz. And eventually, Franz does eventually have his retribution, but not in the way that he would want to. But that really doesn't even sort of matter at the end. I would recommend definitely watching Berlin Alexanderplatz because it is such a long drawn out series, and as far as like its its characters, its style, its ambience is just really good. Now, I do have stuff to say about the Criterion release about this, and it's probably not like going to be um, agreed with, but this may be the worst Blu-ray transfer that I have in my whole entire collection, and that's saying a lot. I don't think the Criterion because in the supplements, it was such in bad shape that they had to completely redo the whole entire transfer. It was shot on 16 millimeter, which even made it completely worse. On my screen, it was supposed to look brown and soft, which is fine, but because it was shot in, I believe, 25 frames per second, and they had to add frames in there. And the way that the film looked, it was just not a very high transfer, and I was very disappointed in it. But part of me feels that, well, was this the director's intention? Was this just a problem with the restoration process? I really don't know. The best I can say is that uh, even the DVD, like if you guys like just like DVD, then I would just get the DVD of this instead of the Blu-ray, because the Blu-ray is not really like a huge upgrade from it, just from like looking at caps and then also just like viewing a little bit of it on the internet at 480p. And that's saying a lot because I think the Criterion does a good job with their discs, but this was not one of them, and it may not be their fault, but that's just a thing for like people that want to buy this. Um, go on Criterion channel before you do buy this, and to see if you really love it, then of course get it in the best definition you can. But at the same time, like it was kind of a disappointment in terms of like picture quality. But Berlin's Alexanderplatz is still a great series. I would highly recommend it. So these are two movies and one movie, one TV series I would highly recommend. So at this point, I'll start start making videos in my entire collection and what my thoughts and feelings are, because I've had these for the past 3 or 4 years. I thought it's something that I could talk about and um, at least like start the conversations on like what makes it a good movie and all that and such. And so so look out for that. And so thank you guys for watching it again. I appreciate it. Thank you. Have a great day. Whatever.